So hello, I'm delighted to be speaking here. My name is Lea Shanley. I'm the co-executive director of the South Big Data Innovation Hub, and I'm delighted to be speaking here at the Citizen Science Symposium at Topapa. So in the U.S. federal government, working with federal staff, agencies are often risk adverse. They're under a lot of oversight from Congress. They're under oversight from the American taxpayer. So they want to make sure what they do is going to be effective. And so they had a lot of concerns about citizen science. One, people were operating in silos. There might be one person in an agency here and not being aware that there was other people, other projects that were related to what they were doing in other agencies. So how do we connect across agencies and within agencies? There's issues of trust, credibility, and particularly data quality. So there may be great interest in citizen science, but how do we ensure that there's good data quality assurance? There are a lot of administrative concerns, it's a bureaucracy, and how do we overcome some of those? But also project evaluation and impact. How do we know when we're effective, both from a scientific literacy and education standpoint, from a scientific standpoint, and perhaps even for the benefit of society and improvement of agency service delivery? And the value of citizen science, right? So citizens are making in-kind contributions through their efforts, and as a few studies have demonstrated, this can add up to billions of dollars. So in the U.S. federal government, in order to address many of these barriers, in order to facilitate adoption of citizen science within the government and to increase government engagement of the public through scientific research, we formed a community of practice. This started literally with 5 or 6 people around a table, a box of cookies, and we began to hold monthly meetings, and as we grew, we brought in academic researchers that were working to advance the science of citizen science. We brought in volunteer groups to see it from the citizens' perspective. We brought in industry to learn, and so began to create this connective tissue or serve as a bridge between government and the grassroots. We helped to identify and encourage agency champions to enable them to implement citizen science within their agencies, and we work to highlight best practice case studies. So agencies being somewhat risk adverse, where has it been done well in other agencies or within an agency? So can we highlight those best practices and standards that that others have been using that would address some of these barriers? In addition, we sought out high-level government officials, the President's Science Advisor, Dr. John Holdren, the Deputy Administrator of our Environmental Protection Agency, Bob Percisepi, the head of the National Science Foundation, the head of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, getting this high-level support through public keynotes, through blog posts, kind of gave the air cover for staff at the lower levels, their middle management, to say, yes, we can do citizen science, we can do something very innovative here. And we also work to align citizen science with national priorities. So from open government, open data, and open science, and later on to other priorities such as climate science, satellite Earth observations, water, etc. And then working forwards, how do we make it easy for federal staff, for practitioners to get into citizen science? So building on the Citizen Science Association and Cornell's toolkit, the federal government worked to build a toolkit, and that served as a how-to guide, step by step. How do I design a project? How do I engage the volunteers? How do I evaluate the results of that project? So some basic step-by-step guidance, along with resources that people then can follow up on if they want more information, or connecting through that community of practice for expertise and assistance. Lastly, we really wanted to get that clarity on authorization for the government to use citizen science. So we worked with the Office of Science and Technology Policy, which advises the White House, to shape a memorandum issued by John Holdren, the President's Science Advisor, encouraging agencies to use citizen science. Set out 3 core principles, from data quality, right? So the fitness for purpose. If I'm using citizen science for STEM education, I may want one level of data quality, but if I'm using citizen science to map the surface of Mars for the Mars mission or to go to the moon, we'd want a different data quality. So being clear that there's that spectrum, providing openness in projects and transparency so that the participants of citizen science projects can get access to the data, and ensuring that there's meaningful participation. So that means I'm not doing something I could do through other means. I'm using citizen science in ways that's filling gaps or doing something that we couldn't do otherwise through traditional methods. Lastly, the memorandum called on for agency coordinators. So people within agencies that serve as a central point of coordination and advocate for citizen science to look across the agencies or look across within their agency to help coordinate and provide resources and expertise, and to help coordinate across agencies. And then in addition, to that end, we wanted to create a catalog, which had already been underway, but this formalized it, of citizen science projects that were being funded by the federal government, and this is building on the platform that had been developed by SciStarter. And there are, I think, now over 800 federal projects. I could be wrong, there may be probably more, and from anything from tracking marine mammals and marine debris to asteroid data science, to in monitoring the environment, air quality and water quality. So it's quite exciting. So how do we take things from here? Well, we began the process in 2014, 2015 of increasing some funding opportunities for citizen science through competitive grant programs. These grant programs, though, when people submit proposals, they went through the normal scientific peer review process, so they needed to be robust projects to be funded. In addition, we work to incorporate it in other federal policies. As I mentioned, the Open Government Plan, the President's Strategy for American Innovation, there's many other government policies that we could be building citizen science into, making citizen science foundational, a methodology you would use like any other, right? So part of the fabric of doing science. One of the very exciting things that I think are coming out of Europe is the European Citizen Observatories, and I'd like to see that happen in the US and elsewhere. And that's where they're bringing together community-based environmental monitoring with cyber information systems and building it on top of novel Earth observation applications. So we're combining physical sensors from satellites to a distributed sensor network you may have for monitoring air quality with citizen science data. So we're fusing these different data streams, and we're creating two-way data sharing opportunities between scientists, citizen scientists, and policymakers. In the US, we were able to get legislation, so this made clear that the federal government was authorized to use citizen science. I would love to see citizen science included in other statutes for other application areas. So looking forward to the Citizen Science Association's 2019 conference, I would love to see looks at how citizen science can augment and enhance efforts around smart cities, around precision medicine, around other application areas that has traditionally been used. We're seeing some exciting opportunities of citizen science and big data, citizen science and artificial intelligence, where the crowd is helping to train the machine. I'd love to see the communities come together globally, where they can scale up citizen science that it's the local level, at the national level, and now to the global level. It's an exciting time here in New Zealand. After talking with Monica Peters and several of her colleagues on the citizen science efforts underway, it's clear that citizen science is gaining visibility and recognition for its value across the government and across the communities. The new administration has a people-powered perspective, which I think provides some wonderful opportunities for developing citizen science initiatives in New Zealand. In addition, I want to applaud all of you for taking the leadership role in advancing citizen science in your organizations and in your communities here. And I want to look forward to seeing what comes from New Zealand, its vision, its strategic direction in citizen science, and that New Zealand takes a leadership role in the global citizen science network.